Hello, hello, and welcome to CatalystMLM. I'm Brian Switchko, and today on the show, we have Ann Ficociello. She's an art teacher turned personal trainer and record-breaking bodybuilder. She reached one of the top ranks in a wellness company called Nikken and has done an awesome job of supporting her team, bringing them into her home, and just really showing them how to present the business. I'm very glad to have her on. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks, Brian. I'll listen to those compliments anytime.
So tell me more about how you got started in network marketing, because when you found it, you were still a personal trainer, right?
Yeah, when I found network marketing, I actually wasn't looking for a business at all because my husband and I own a medical business called Yankee Medical, and I was training 30 clients a week as a personal trainer. So I really wasn't looking for another business when it actually came into my life.
And how did it come about? Were you presented with it?
One of my clients that I was actually working with had a herniated disc in his back, and one of the products of this company really changed everything as far as what he was able to do. He was a pretty healthy guy, very athletic, but he had that one spot that kept him from doing some of the things he'd like to do. So who do you tell when you can do these awesome workouts? Your personal trainer. So he told me about it. He said, can I come over and show you what this is all about? And he came to my home. He gave me an energy massage, and my husband had one. And my husband, who is a classically trained orthotist prosthetist, was amazed at the results he felt in his own body. It was more subtle in me,
Right.
but when I kind of heard what happened with Steve and also my husband, they both had great credibility with me. I decided to check it out.
Yeah.
So I went to a meeting with Steve, and I actually got pulled in by something I would never expected. It was the philosophy of the company, and it had to do around balance. And I'm a Libran, so balance in the scales is very important. So I think that the word right away resonated. And then when they talked about what balance, what health truly was, which was a balance in these five pillars, a healthy mind, healthy family or relationships, healthy society, healthy finances, and a healthy body, I took a look at it and I really kind of made a decision that I had worked more on body, mind, family, and society than I had finances. I mean, my husband was really carrying the weight of that one. And I think that's why he actually had more aches and pains in his body.
Yeah.
So I took a look at that and said, I should look at this business because it had to do with networking. And MLM is a great spot for any networker. And I just thought I could make him a kept man.
Yeah. And had you had any experience at all in network marketing before that?
I got exposed to one company through a friend of mine who is a physician that wanted me to take a look at a nutritional company. And because I was a personal trainer, it interested me. I was looking for anything for peak performance. But I really didn't see something that I couldn't find on a health food shelf. So I really made a decision not to take a more serious look. This, however, was very, very different because it had to do with energy. And I hadn't run into it anywhere else, so it fascinated me.
Yeah. And I've heard you talk a little bit before about you and your husband and kind of the balance of those levels. Is it, as a couple, you were balanced across all five, but when you split, the two of you, it was very uneven. So how did he feel about you going on that journey?
Well, the funny part is he was the one that said to me, he realized by nature I'm an educator. And I love coaching people, whether it was, with lifestyle issues or, with fitness issues. And so when he was exposed to this, he basically said to me, this seems like it's right up your alley because it had to do with health. It had to do with the gift of gab and actually enjoying meeting new people, which I love. And he just thought that it was very, had more to do with prevention than dealing with people that were already part of the sickness industry, which is where our other business was. And he knew how frustrated I was with that, which is actually why I went down the personal trainer route. So I saw both worlds coming together. But you were right. He saw this. He actually saw this as a great business opportunity for me. He actually saw that my talents were suited for it. So he encouraged me to take a serious look at it. And as I said, I really saw that I could contribute in a significant way. Right out of the gate, my vision was big for this. I had a big vision, and I understood that I think that things come to you when you're not even looking, and that was my situation. I wasn't looking; it came to me. I kind of just felt like, there's no happenstance, that there was a synergy here, and it brought my rehab world and my fitness world together in one company. And I loved the flexibility of what MLM offered.
That's awesome. And so often people don't have that kind of support from either their family or their spouses, but when it is there, it's powerful. And that's really awesome. So when you got started, I mean, you're an educator, you're a networker, so those two things combined, it's like, man, you're going to be, awesome at MLM. But what was your biggest challenge when you got started in sharing the products and the opportunity with other people?
Sharing the products was very, very easy. The opportunity, there was a learning curve. Because, really what I had done at Yankee Medical and what I did as a trainer was really demonstrate, how things could be better through doing certain activities, and actually with Yankee Medical with certain products. So I was really already good at that particular aspect. Learning how to share the business, I feel I'm still getting better and better at that today. I've been doing this now for 14 years. I find that that's the place that still gets me really excited. I can talk about the products, but the products speak for themselves. The business model itself is something that I love sharing because it's an art and a science at the same time.
Yeah, it's I forget it, but they make tattoos that say both art or philosophy and science is what it was. It wasn't art and science.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough.
When you got started in doing that, who were you talking to? I mean, was it primarily friends and family, or were you out meeting people elsewhere?
Well, to tell you the truth, I went to the first leadership level in this business in my very first month. Wow. But I'd spent for 4 months going to events, looking at how other people presented it. Yeah. I just knew my time frame didn't really allow me to start until a specific date. So I kind of just declared that was the date I was going to begin. That's that decision place. I'm really good at decisions, and I'm good at declaring. I think that, my first bodybuilding show, I just told everyone I was going to do it 4 months before I did it. It certainly kept me on that diet and kept me on the fitness regimen because credibility is huge. So I just told everyone that, I was going to launch my business a couple of weeks before the beginning of February, and that I was going to make this level at the end of February. I didn't think it was the 1 month with fewer days. But, it was just happened to be the month I could do it.
Yeah, I think I've done that before also in February, and I was like, no. But so I know that you're really big on setting goals and those kinds of deadlines for both yourself and your team. Where have you seen the value in that, both for yourself and the people that you work with, to say, okay, let's do this month, or let's have a launch or a relaunch, and helping people to just make a check in their first month and continually from then on?
Well, it's really good to set the bar because your intention is there. So the mind is very, very powerful, and you basically support it with getting the help that you need from everyone else. But at the same time, I think you have to have that vision, and you have to see it as being something that's possible. And the worst that can happen is that you're going to move in this business closer to where you want to be, even if you don't attain it. So I don't really see it as it's a win-win no matter what happens with this. But it's kind of like if you want to go to Massachusetts and you don't have a roadmap, you just hop in your car, then, basically you have to digest segments of this business one step at a time, so that you don't stress out, so that you feel you are on track with what you say you want. And, I think that's in the very beginning important. I think it's important to understand why you're adding it into your life. I added this into my life because I really wanted to be balanced in all 5 pillars, and my financial pillar was the weakest. And I saw myself really being able to succeed in this venue. And, but then the next thing was break it up, like how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time?
Yep.
And so that's, I feel, a skill that I developed for myself. So I was able to help others do the same in my business. I'm a big believer of not asking anyone to do something that you already haven't done yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's powerful when you're able to say, I did this, you can too.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get started at a goal, saying I want to jump up to another, leadership rank, or I want to, get this bonus or win this prize, whatever it may be, or do it for a member of your team or with a member of your team, what's the process leading up to that? Because you talked about the 4 months before your first bodybuilding competition. What's the process from the moment of decision to the moment you start?
Well, I do think that you have to spend a little bit of time figuring out what is it that you want. Do you want to hit a certain pin rank?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to have a certain size check? What are the criteria for either of those, events? And then you've got to understand again why you want it, and is it big enough to get you through the days where you feel like it's just not worth it? So it's like you really need to, no goal that's a stretch, and I would be bored silly with this if I didn't have goals that stretched me. So no goal that has a stretch in it is going to guarantee you that every day you're going to feel on target, and so it's like one of those things. How do you get yourself through the bad days as well as the good days that are very successful? And that is understanding why you want this. And, for me, I really understand that it's there. And even when I was bodybuilding, I didn't really stop until I got to where I felt the amount of effort I had put in gave me the amount of credibility and success that I deserved. And so I'm like that with this business as well. It's kind of innately part of who I am. And so I help people identify how they would like to do this business, because right now my success has more to do with helping others succeed than it is my own personal success, which is a part of the business I really, really love. I love identifying the people that are ready to do this now and have a passion for it, have a serious why, have the means, and by that I mean they're willing to do what it takes, and support them in helping them create their track within one that I know. You don't have to reinvent the wheel in MLM. It's one of the cool things, but everyone takes themselves into this business. So you bring your own gifts, you bring your own lifestyle.
Right.
And, once I was no longer in the workplace anymore because I was successful enough in MLM to not be personal training anymore or not be at our other company anymore, and that this business actually was where I wanted to be all the time, then I actually had to find, other ways of meeting new people if I were personally recruiting other than
Right.
the workplace. But I also needed to make sure that I was having events and help my team have events that worked into the demographic they were trying to bring into their business.
Yeah.
For example, if I was working with a young woman that her kids were in school and had more time when her children was, which is one of the advantages of MLM, is that you can work when it makes sense for you. And then I'd have to make sure that we were scheduling things that allowed her to bring the people into the business that were either going to go to nighttime events when she couldn't, or would allow her to have events in her home at the time of day that made sense. So that kind of flexibility is actually, I think, what makes this whole industry fascinating. I mean, I think you really got to you got to take it. I mean, it's huge, the flexibility. So you got to take advantage of it and have, like you say, how do you pre-plan? You pre-plan by deciding where it is for this particular individual in your team that you have to work, and help them to create the kind of business that makes sense for them so they can succeed. And if
Yeah.
they do, I do.
Yeah, and I think and identifying that is huge, because it seems a lot of times that when you identify it, those steps seem almost laid out. And so, stepping back a little bit, you talked about networking and finding new people outside of the workplace that you were once in. I know you also do a lot of business networking. So how did you get started with that? What was the process, and what do you do now in terms of getting out there?
Well, that's why I say to people, don't quit your day job right away, because when I was training, and actually when I was at Yankee Medical, I was always talking to new people, and I went to the first leadership level only on my clients that I had, because I had huge credibility with them. And then when I started building teams, I did a lot with people that are already marketers. I mean, they were coming to me to sell me ad space, either in media of some kind or other. And I got a number of them to take a serious look at this business as well. So, I was always getting this steady stream of people that I could see whether or not this was a fit for. When I decided to stay at home because this business was consuming me to the point where that made sense, then I basically had to look at, I actually chose two organizations that are in this community, and one is international. It's called BNI, Business Networking International, and I looked for a chapter that would support me actually explaining. The good thing about this is that I could get my message down in a minute every week, and I would see what kind of effect I would have right away in the whole room from talking to people that knew nothing about what I did except for this 1 little minute presentation, and then having one-on-one meetings with them. That was interesting. The other thing, I joined a group called Women's Business Networking, and it was all women in business. And what I found is that wasn't as helpful to me, because I got more customers than I got people looking for, a business, because so many of the women were so committed and passionate about what they were doing, and they were starting their own business. But I did get a lot of customers, but it wasn't really, when I go to these events, the customer is not the end result, it's a byproduct.
Right, absolutely. And that's a really important thing to distinguish, is that you stepped back and said, okay, well, I love this organization, I'm getting customers from it, but I'm not getting any new distributors. Why? And that helps to educate if you go into another networking group and go from there.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about BNI, and for those who I've always loved BNI, and for those who don't know, everyone stands up and they have their time to talk about their business, but it's not to sell their business, because the groups are fixed. It's the same people every week. It's educating, and they call it creating your sales team. So you're teaching everyone else what you do, so that when they find someone that would be beneficial to your business, they make a referral or recommendation. So how did the educating and not selling, how did that fit into your business, and how did that help you with the teacher in you and just communicating and networking?
Well, I think that it was an interesting kind of learning curve for me, because what I think I innately do well is actually creating interest in the business, So in that venue, that was not something that, it was actually frowned on if you did that. But I've actually found a way.
It's against their rules, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I actually have found a way to get around it, because you get creative. And right now I'm trying to launch my business in the Boston area. So what I did is, after I gave a quick, in my 10-minute, that once every quarter, most of us get a chance to do a longer presentation. And when I was done, I had a list of people that were, little keywords for anyone that could be a great customer of mine. And I had keywords for people that would be great business partners for me. And I had them in 2 side-by-side lists. And I said, I'm launching my business in the Boston area. So if anyone knows anyone in the Boston area that would not maybe necessarily want to do this business, but would know other people that could connect me. So I'm actually continually asking people, about who they know right now in the Boston area. And that's actually, I think one of the leaders in our company did the same thing with Atlanta a while back.
That.
Yeah, and he basically had his largest leg is now originated in the Atlanta area. So I'm duplicating, and I guess that's another important thing. Wherever you go to create interest, that there's been success stories that have happened with people that have been in this business even longer than you. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's just the ones that kind of make sense for your style and your personality and incorporating them in your message.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, duplication, the power of it, and being able to duplicate other people's methods, but then help other people to duplicate yours are both huge ways to grow your business. So on that same note, in specific ways, how did you have to adapt your teaching style that you used to use when you were doing, when you were an art teacher or when you were a personal trainer? How did you have to adapt that for growing your MLM business?
Well, I think that I wasn't in a situation like I was with my clients where they were seeking me out. I mean, in a very short amount of time, people were coming to me.
Right.
When you do this business, because it's a numbers game, you really need to actually go out and do more outreach than sitting back and letting people come to you, which is both of the other 2 businesses. Yes, I did some marketing. My marketing was my body back when I was a trainer, especially for the age that I was when I was
training.
Look
at this. The products are awesome.
Yeah. And in the other business, I was the marketer for Yankee Medical, and I created the ads. So I brought people in using more traditional marketing. With this, it's actually been creating interest in any kind of way that makes sense for the situation. So one of my leaders that's in my business right now came to an event that I had because there was a number of us that are getting together to celebrate how many years we'd done theater together. So we were there, and everyone was in town for a big event, and I invited them to my house afterwards. And one of the women that came said, tell me a little bit about this business that you do, because I hear you do things with magnets. And I said, yes, but here it was a social event.
Right.
So I said, do you have a spot that hurts? And she said, yeah, right here. So I gave her a little magnet to put on her neck. And 20 minutes later, she came back and said, do you have one for the other side? So I gave her one for the other side, and she went out the door.
Yeah.
4 days later, I get a call from her, and she says, I have 5 people that all want to hear more about this. So I didn't even follow up with her. She was on my list to follow up with, but this was a Friday night event, and this was only Tuesday morning, so I hadn't done it yet. And here she was. So sometimes less is more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think being able to fit the circumstances and match with that energy, especially, if it's and I would hope that everyone's done this, because I know I have, so I hope I'm not the only one. But, you make a social event, a pitch fest, and you do it once, and you learn from it, and you're like, yeah, that didn't work, and it's never going to happen again, because that was not a good feeling.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And so I was like, not wanting to, at that point in time, turn it into, because you get me going. There's sometimes hard to find the off button. So I figured I was going to just use the products. They do their own selling, and see what came about. And then the follow-up piece is where you do your work. Yeah. And so after I had done that little bit, I was going to follow up. But I love it when she actually followed up with me, and she had 5 people all ready to hear more.
So those are the perfect people for the business.
Yeah, exactly. So you say, okay, this is a good one. I think I just found a good one.
So how would you communicate to someone on your team that doesn't understand how to read the situation, and maybe they're not adapting to the situation, and they have kind of like a constant, this is the speed that they go, and they aren't able to scale that.
Well, I think it's in a lot of times in this business we learn with trial and error, and that's why what I try to do is get people. And I'm not as good at this even today as I need to be, but I try to really encourage people to do ABCs. And ABCs are where you've got someone the person doesn't know as well as they know you. You've got them doing the presenting. You actually just introduce them. It has several advantages. You're there to do the introducing. The advantages are it protects the relationship, number one. And if they don't like the presentation, they can blame the person they don't know. But oftentimes, they listen better to someone they don't know than someone they know well, who's spieling with all this passion about something they know nothing about, and they're thinking, oh, what's going on here?
Right.
So I try to get people to do APCs in the beginning so they can actually listen to someone else that may be a little bit more experienced, a little bit more intuitive, a little bit more knowledgeable. And so they can start earn while they learn, and because I've seen too many people blow through their list simply because of the fact they're just really, really excited. And that excitement sometimes can be magical, so I'm not putting it down.
Yeah.
But there's a place, again, this balance thing I keep coming back to. There's a place.
There's such a thing as overexcitement.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
I try to do that more than anything, Brian.
Yeah. And so you talked about it, you said you had the party and you had people back to your house, and you, I know, very often use your house as one of your biggest promotional tools for your business. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, I look at my home as a showroom for my business. My office is here. I have all the products set up. People come in, and I have even my HD TV, my large screen TV, has a computer behind it, so I do my presentations even on, my television half the time. I've got the house kind of set up for this business after 14 years. So it really makes people understand that it's pretty easy to make this an at-home career. And that's how I look at it. This is an at-home career. I live in my showroom. I teach in my showroom. I invite people in, and they usually go away, thinking that my lifestyle is pretty amazing, and it is. It is.
And your house, which is beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
I remember that the first time I ever went there, I walked in, and it's kind of in the city, but it's a small city. But you walk in thinking, oh, it's a house in the city, and the second that you go into the door, you feel like you're in the country.
Well, part of it is my style, part of it is my style. Part of it is probably the colors. I was an art major, remember? And, but I think part of it is that it really is truly a home.
Right.
It's not a business. It's a business within a home, and it's truly my home. And so the dog is there, the cat is there visiting and saying hi.
And I mean, people wouldn't really know, if someone just came over. I know that you've had a plethora of events over the time that I've known you, and you constantly have people in your home, and some of it's business related, and other of it's just recreational, but nothing changes. It's not like you're putting out the A-frame with the sign, or it's not you're converting everything. It's just that's the way that it is. And you use it for both presentations and not business related things, but also trainings. So how did that come about? Did you start doing that all at once, or was it a progression and you kept adding to it? How have you seen it as a tool and a living space?
Well, when I first came into this business, the upline that I came in with, all the events were held at a hotel venue. And it was effective. Obviously, I signed up, so I really liked it. But over time, with having to be the person that's running those events, as I grew in this organization, I really didn't like the schlepping. to tell you the truth. And, to cart everything, bring it in, set it up, even though I had help.
Yeah.
And, do the same thing to go home and actually put some money out on top of that to do that. And I was thinking, this is an at-home business. It's a at-home career. Why not model that? Why not do as much? And so basically over time, I opened up the space when it was time to renovate and my son was gone. We opened up things a little bit more, so there was more room for overflow of people as people came in and out. And it's worked really, really well, because I really feel that people don't feel quite as much that they're at a presentation.
Right.
They're actually seeing a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And really, I'm selling the lifestyle.
And so many multi-level marketers who have achieved success, and they're very successful in further promoting their business by promoting the lifestyle of, I can be any, it's winter, I'll go south, or it's summer, I'll go north and go skiing. And being able to just share that freedom, both time freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, it's attractive, and it's quite addictive, and it's worth the effort when people see it from the outside.
Yeah, that flexibility is key, because, one of the things I really never loved, even though I was disciplined enough to do it, was showing up at a specific time every day to do a certain job. And even if I love the job, I love the career, I was good at it, I really didn't like that 8 to 5, atmosphere with the hour lunch. Even when I was teaching, I was an art teacher, and I really didn't like that when I had things going really well in that classroom, the bell would ring and it was time for a new group of kids, and those had to leave. So it felt artificial to me. And so I really absolutely love that I can take the time that's necessary for a specific communication. Like I can shorten it, lengthen it, depending on what's going on. And I'm not held to, when I was training, I had an hour commitment to a specific individual. I think that was all starting to choke me. And, as much as I loved every one of my clients, it was the structure that I didn't thrive in. Right. And so, it's like one of those things where I'm very, very suited to this lifestyle. You have to be self-disciplined, but I certainly displayed that when I decided to become a bodybuilder. Yeah. You have to be able to go with the flow when it's great to go with the flow, and you have to be able to say, too much go with the flow, time to knuckle down.
Yep. That's awesome. And so speaking of that lifestyle and how people see it, I've heard you say before, people buy you before they buy the company. And what do you mean by that?
Well, first of all, I think when I talk about lifestyle, they probably do like my lifestyle. That's number one. That's very attracting. I think that if they see me as being someone that's very open and welcoming, and someone that has an energy, and that becomes even more amazing the older I get. So I love getting older, because it's even more of a selling point as I get older. And but they see that in me, and they want a little piece of that themselves. They also want to be around someone that's positive. And one of the things that I've always been told by others that I have as an offering is that I'm very inspiring. And whether if it's been told to me several times, so I have to start believing it myself. But it's like one of those things, if I can inspire in them. And I think when you're a mentor or a leader in an MLM, I think you need to hold a vision of what you see for that person, how successful they're capable of being. Hold that until they have it themselves. So every time they look at you, they're actually seeing your belief in them.
Yeah.
And so people get addicted to be hanging around a person that believes in them.
Yeah, and it can be dangerous if you release that too early, because if they don't believe it, then they'll run away from it because they think that you're, sounds too good to be true or whatever. It doesn't feel like them. It feels like you're trying to change them, but
Right.
it's still there.
Yeah, you have to hold on to it until they start feeling it themselves.
Yeah.
Until when I start seeing mirroring back that they don't need that coming from me as much, then actually my style is to challenge. My style is to challenge people to take a look at what they could do that is better than what they're doing right now in any aspect. I did it raising my son, so it's part of, I think, how I taught and how I challenge myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, in that same vein, what are some of the things that you do once someone has become a distributor? Like, how do you help them from the get-go?
Well, there's a number of things. I'm very fortunate that this company has a seminar called Humans Being More, and it's a 2-day self-discovery program where people get to spend time with a facilitator and as a small group to define what they want in all 5 pillars within the next 5 years. So it gives me something to sit down with them and really discover where things are going well and where things need to be better. And generally, if people identify something that they would like to be better, and I ask them, so how much do you want that? 10 being the most and 1 being the least, and they don't give me an 8 or above, then I'm not seeing them as being someone committed enough to succeed in this business. So I have a rating system that I use, and I go through several questions, just basically finding out where there's dissatisfaction, where there's, if someone is absolutely perfectly contented in their life, they may not be a good candidate.
Yeah.
And
when you talk about that rating system, I mean, that's, I always remember going to the doctor. I always laughed that they still use the little smiley faces of, is your pain a, 0, 1, 2, whatever. And sometimes that's the best way to communicate something that's not easily communicated.
Yes. Yeah.
So how, I guess, I mean, skipping forward, you've been doing this for 14 years. What has the industry, the business, what has it enabled you to do, and what dreams have you been able to realize?
Well, I think the first thing is I have only one child. It's a son, and he lives in Costa Rica. And my grandson, who is 3, lives there as well because my son owns a hotel. And it's one of the countries that Niken is in. So I can visit him anytime I want and do some presentations and write the whole trip off. I can grow my business with him out of South America, out of Central America. But I think really what it's done, my husband and I have a 45-year marriage, successful marriage. And John is someone that would rather, the two of us are fortunate enough to have a second home up in the mountains. And he would rather go there on the weekend than any place else in the world. I can do that for a few weekends, and I need a little bit more stimulus.
Yeah.
So I love that I can travel for this business, and John can go to the mountain house or come with me. He has a choice. It actually has taken stress off our relationship. Now today, we can do presentations all the time on webcams, over Skype, over everything. I don't need to travel, but I need to travel. So
I like it.
Yeah. So I love that we're in 39 countries and growing, and I love that I have
39 different places you can have a tax deduction.
Exactly, and that's not even counting all the states that we have in the United States. Yeah. And so, so when you talk about what has afforded me, it's afforded me a really successful way to manage an issue in my marriage. How's that?
Love it.
Yeah.
So what's a typical day like? I mean, I know that you travel a great deal, but when you're at home in Burlington, what's a typical day like?
A typical day for me is I usually get up and take care of the dog and cat first off because I'm a morning person, so I'm up early and they love that. And then I actually take care of me. I generally have to get my workout in first thing in the morning. If I don't, my day has a way of taking over. And so I usually take a 45-minute to an hour to myself early in the morning before I even eat. Then I do that. And then I take a look at, I generally plan my day out before that day. So I kind of have a feeling for the week.
Yep.
Like this week, I have two large events happening in the Burlington area and a training the next day. And it's with someone who has built the largest South American business in Nican without speaking a word of Spanish. And so it's something that I know my week is geared around preparing for who's going to be there, what kinds of things do I need to have there, how to use her presence in, my area successfully and maximize the visit. So every week has its own feeling. Like last week was a holiday week, so I really did quite a bit of work in the first 3 days so I could relax. And then
Eat some turkey.
Yes. And the week before, I was actually in the Boston area for 3 days looking at the venue that I'm going to have for the opening in March, and actually doing a few drop-bys to places that I thought would make sense. One was a PT acupuncture office, one was a spa, and I just happened to park in an area and they were there. So again, that synergy thing. I tend to trust the universe to place me where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
So this weekend I followed up with those guys, sent them some videos, and talked about having a meeting when I go back down in a couple weeks.
That's awesome. So what would you recommend for someone that, like an actionable item that they can do today if they're looking to take their business to the next level? They want to set that goal and get prepared for it. Let's say there's, depending on when they watch this, there's 10 or 15 days till the beginning of the next month. What can they do to prepare and figure out what their goal is going to be and how they're going to achieve it?
Well, number one, I think they've got to take a look at where the biggest need is. They got to do a little diagnosis. If they've been in this business for a little bit, they got to say, okay, where have I succeeded? Congratulate yourself for all those things. Where have I done well? I don't think we do enough of that in our business because, our days could be never done if we allowed it. And so that's one of the things, again, that I've learned to get better and better at is that you don't have to work hard. You have to work smart.
Yeah.
So working smart is doing this diagnostic and saying, what makes the biggest difference for my business right now? Am I losing money somewhere that I could be making money? Am I leaving money on the table because something is not happening in the way my organization is set up? So if you answer yes to that, then you have to take a look at how are you going to change that. Now you can do that by knowing enough about your business plan to do that on your own, or you can ask an upline mentor to help you sort that through. And then if it involves either you doing personal recruiting or you working with team members so they can advance, so you advance, then that means there's two different ways that you would go in each of those scenarios, but you've done the diagnosis. Right. If it involves getting people that could be awesome that you've noticed haven't done anything for 2 months, then it means reconnecting and saying to them, I just am checking in to see where you're at because I've just noticed that, is there something going on that I can help you with? Yeah. So there's so many ways. I think you've got to do that diagnosis. You've got to look at what you need. Do you need to make an X amount of money in 6 months to make something happen? And if that's the case, you should probably rely more on your own abilities. If it's short term, and what can you do to create that money? If it's something that you feel that you would like to have in place in the next 2 years so that you can take more time off and still get paid, then that's organizational. Yeah. So, doing that diagnosis, taking a look at where the need is for your business, and then from there, you break it down in those bite-sized pieces. And then start with the end in mind. You've already diagnosed it, right? It has to happen in 6 months or it has to happen in 2 years. And you work backwards to the daily activity.
Yeah. And making a a different kind of a metaphor. I mean, I just kept hearing it, and I was like, I had to put it
Gotta
out.
say it. I know.
Is the you said diagnosis and like the end in mind, and if you think of like a race car, you know, that's what they do. They have a high performance machine that they have, but still before the event, they check the tire pressure and the oil and everything about the car, and they have that end in mind, and that's a very, very clear end. So I think it's a phenomenal way to do that, because there's plenty of ways to get down the track, but you have to diagnose it first and make sure that you're ready. That's phenomenal advice.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming on and sharing all that. I'm going to have links below to everything we talked about, and definitely look forward to having you on again to share more of your story, because you are an inspiration, and it's really
Thank
great
you,
to hear
Brian.
from you.
Nice to talk to you.